It's not where you start, but how you rise that defines your journey. Meet Daniel, the visionary founder of Ansom Skin, a natural skincare brand revolutionizing men's grooming. As the host of Daniel Lee's podcast, Daniel dives deep into the minds of entrepreneurs worldwide, uncovering the stories and strategies that drive success. From humble beginnings to achieving millions in sales, Daniel's mission is clear: to show that with the right mindset, anything is possible. Welcome, Daniel, to the Unsaid podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. I was on a podcast yesterday, and I was saying how weird it is to be the one that's not doing the introductions and stuff like that. So it's quite nice to actually be able to hopefully inspire some people.
Yeah, it's like from a podcaster to a podcaster.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, through doing podcasts, you get to meet so many great people. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I think I'm going to learn a lot from you with this episode.
Yeah,
because you're a much more master than me in this space.
Yeah, when I first started out on my first podcast, the person who kind of encouraged me to do it 5 years ago said to me, always keep the earlier episodes because you learn from them and you kind of like go back and also it's kind of recognition to like where you come from. Like when we started podcasting 5 years ago, you never had studios. There was no podcast studios. It was kind of almost unheard of to have a podcast. So it was very early on. But yeah, as you grow, you learn. And I think it's also helped me to develop as an individual. And it also was a part of the reason why I now have a skincare brand as well. So it all was quite organic.
Yeah, we'll talk more about it, but I would like to know about your journey. What made you the person that you're today? Because yes, I have definitely had a chat with you yesterday before we, kind of got on the show. But yes, I think it's a very inspiring story and a lot of people out there will relate to you for sure.
So I'm the youngest of 3 children. I come from a place called Northampton in the UK. I, like every child, had a really nice upbringing up until around the age of around 13. And a lot of changes started to happen at home with my parents breaking up. And, from that moment onwards, I became quite, let's say, independent because my mum struggled with money because it was quite a toxic breakup between my parents. And, my mum, I remember saying from a very young age, she said to me, if you really want to have money, you have to go and work for it. And she kind of she already worked for a local newspaper. So she kind of helped me get like a paper round with these guys when I was like 12, and I'd finish school and I'd go and deliver papers. And that was kind of like the starting of how, I started to understand what it was like to work for money. But with some of the traumas and stuff that come with breakups, whilst I was a good person at heart, I kind of as I grew into my teenage years, came to the point of where I was a little bit of a rebel. And, I had one side of my parents that was quite manipulating in terms of what they would do to me and say to me about the other parent. And then the other parent was off living their life and, enjoying the relationship and the love that they kind of deserved for like the last however many years they were with my dad, So it's not like I ever held a grudge between any of them. It was just, and I was a teenager. So, and the problem with that was I started to drink quite early on. So around 13, 14, I remember finishing school on a Friday and I'd go to, a local area and, just drink alcohol and get really, really drunk. And I remember times where my parents got a phone call and I'm like blackout drunk in the middle of a field or thrown up in someone's house or something, and it all started to escalate from there because it was very difficult to deal with. And because I felt like nobody understood me, I just rebelled more and more and more.
So it was like your escape zone. So I could just run away from 100%, the reality.
The thing is, I kind of, one of the traits that I've developed later on in life, I suppose all in life, is I try not to look back too much because there's a large portion of my life that I'm actually not too proud about. And rather than sit there and assess it, I've just had a lot of therapy, learned from it and all that sort of things. But I never really uncovered why I was that way. And I still think to this day, I probably don't know. But what I do know about that situation in my life is I was very confused about who I was, what life was like. I hated school, so I never did well. And, in those years, I mean, it's kind of like slightly different now because you've got the internet and these things. Like, imagine PCs and what, for the young people listening, computers and laptops were only being introduced as I was leaving school. My first ever job, I didn't have a laptop. I didn't have these types of things. You know, it was calling, going to people's houses, and you know, and all that types of things to like actually do sales. And yeah, but unfortunately, with the alcohol side of things, a few situations happened which got me into trouble with the police. And then, although it was an altercation with like my family members, where, you know, in a sense, I was protecting them, but the law told me otherwise. And then after a third time of fighting, the law came crashing down on me, and it was like, you know, we really want to make an example of you. And on their records, all they saw was this guy that got arrested for fighting rather than understanding the situation. One of the times my brother got attacked in front of me, and as you do, I stuck up for him and, you know, got in trouble for that. And then the first time was, unfortunately, you know, my sister got sexually assaulted in front of me. So I think most people listening to this would understand that anyone that is a female in your family, if that happened to them, you know, you pretty much 9 times out of 10 people do the same. But unfortunately, the third time is what kind of got me out, and that was just a stupid fight that I had with somebody when I was drunk. And again, just that teenager that just wasn't dealing with his emotions, getting drunk, and something would set me off and I'd be off. And I wasn't learning, and I was in and out of home with my mum because we weren't getting on, and she was kind of like kicking me out, and I was living with friends and doing drugs and smoking weed and stuff. And I was, you know, it was just that kind of, again, what you said, like escape for me, I think it was. I think that was the most, I was just escaping my reality. And then that moment was kind of like the moment I needed in my life to change, because when you're facing 2 years in prison and you enter this glass box and you've got a door to your right, which is freedom, and you've got stairs downwards to prison on the left, and you don't know which way you're going, and it's not your choice. It was a very humbling but scary moment, because you realize that you're not invincible, and I realized that I couldn't keep living the life that I was living despite what was happening. But thankfully, during that period of time, the sentencing got adjourned, which means like I would get sentenced a few months later. So lawyers said to me, you need to go and seek help from therapists and stuff. And I sought a lot of help through anger management and therapy, and got a few good references, which then resulted in me ending up not going to prison for 2 years, ended up getting community service. And they just said to me, I remember the guy looking at me now, and he said to me, you know, I really hope, Daniel, I never have to see your face again for the right reasons. He said, if I do ever see you again, and it is that through crime, then you're going to serve a sentence for every single crime you've committed. And that was all I needed from then. I just tried to turn my life around from that moment, and, you know, I was able to do that. And I think those were the kind of moments that shaped me into kind of who I am today.
So what I understand from it's a very, I don't know, I don't have word for it, but it's a very, very sad story, right? But I think a lot of people go through this, and what I understand is childhood is so important. Good childhood is so important. Having that guiding figure around you, whether it's parents, whether it's siblings, or whether it's your master, teacher, anybody, right? It's so important, right, in your childhood to have those kind of people around you.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, my parents did the best they could do, and in a sense, I'm also thankful for my journey, because maybe if the things that didn't happen, maybe I wouldn't be where I am. And like, my mum definitely instilled some really good values in me. So whilst I talk about stuff as like maybe a negative, you know, parts of my life was really good. Like, I have so many fond memories of being a child. It was just, you know, that pinnacle moment of where you're turning from a child into a teenager, your parents divorcing, things changing, another man coming into your household. There was too much change in such a short period of time, and I just didn't deal with it very well. You know, but you know, from the benefits off the back of it, you know, it taught me a lot of independence, which I'm now thankful for, because I'm an incredibly independent person. I don't rely on anybody. You know, I've been able to keep pushing through, and whilst people might see it as maybe a negative trait, but my strive for success is just endless. There's not many people that would be able to say that they can meet me on that ambition. Like I'm prepared to do anything to succeed.
And also, I think that your experience is your biggest teacher, right?
Yeah.
What you learn, what you experience in your life teaches you to become a better person.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the kind of vibe I'm getting from you.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, you know, I needed that moment where I was facing 2 years in prison because I had two reminders that, you know, you can get in trouble for things. And I didn't learn my lesson. And as I said, when you're about to have your freedom taken away from you, that is a very scary moment. Like when you have no control, I can't explain the feeling that I was feeling. I think even that feeling, I've never felt it again since that moment because it was such a memorable feeling in terms of like the negativity that I was feeling about my life and my future and how much, you know, I messed up. Like I'd effectively ruined my life. Like if I'd have gone to prison, like I might not be where I am now. And it was a flip of a coin where I was able to like turn it around. But, you know, it definitely shaped me because, you know, Alex Hormozy talks about this a lot with the pain from where you're coming has to be so much that you never want to go back there. And it was that for me, I never wanted to, if I ever have a family one day, I never want them to go through what I went through, you know, having a working class family and struggling for money and all these types of things. Like it's a very scary, like to not have, again, it's not having control of your life, right? If you, as bad as it sounds, if you don't have money, you don't have control because you don't have the freedom to be able to do what you want to do. And I think that was a constant reminder for me. So every moment in my life, you know, when I'm backed into a corner, I just come out fighting because I know, not physically, like mentally.
Right. You don't want to go back to that space.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't want to ever be in that space where I'm struggling for money or there's a problem or this and that and the other. I want to make sure my future's secure, and you know, I'm doing a good job of doing that now. So
like you said, let's leave the dark past behind and let's focus on what you're today.
Yeah.
And something really exciting, which is you've created a brand for men's skincare.
Yeah, very niche topic to be honest, because I for a long time I was working in businesses and stuff, and I was growing those businesses, and I came to quickly realize when I did the podcast, it's like, as I said, I came from a working class family, so entrepreneurship wasn't really a thing in our family, and especially my granddad, when he was younger, he started a business and got his fingers burnt, so it was a bit taboo to start your own business because it was too much of a risk. But for me, I started doing the podcast and I'd started having a lot of success in the role that I was in. And I thought, you know what, like maybe I can give this a good go. Maybe I can give this, you know, as long as I do something that I feel passionately about. And I think this is what's really important about maybe this conversation, because it frustrates me when I see businesses talk about, and these gurus that want to sell you a course, and they talk about how you can earn $10,000 like that.
Yes.
It's like it took, I think I was about 32 the first time I ever earned $10,000 in 1 month. And then from there it's gone like, yeah, it's grown, but it didn't come easy. And it doesn't come as easy as these people think, especially if you want to provide value and build a brand. Those types of get rich quick schemes just don't work. Like I've tried the get rich quick schemes through investing and these things, and trust me, it might start out well, but in the end, you always get your fingers burnt. And for me, when I came up with the idea of Ansem, it was because I was experiencing some problems with my skin. At the time, I was dating this girl, and she was like, "Oh, try this skincare routine, try all these like little routines out." And she bought me this routine, and I started trying it and stuff. And I've always been into health, wellness, fitness, you name it. And
yeah, because when you talk about skincare, it's always, you relate it to females, right? That, hey, listen, this is my skincare routine and, you know, DIY stuff and like that. But when you talk to a man, he'll be like, that's my skincare. Nothing. I just rub my face and I'm off. Yeah,
I mean, as unfortunate as it sounds, there's a lot of men that just lose themselves. Like when they get married and have children, it's like, as bad as it sounds, and this sounds like I'm kind of judging, but in a sense, I suppose we judge whoever we are, we always judge everyone we see, right? And the second you lay eye on them. But like when you're walking around the mall, for example, and you're seeing newly born mothers with their prams, and it looks like the dad was pregnant, not the mum, and you're just like, what are these men doing to themselves? Like, you know, and there's a number of things, but obviously they've kind of like forgotten about themselves and let go of themselves and stuff like that. And I think it's important to remind men that it's like, it's okay to like take care of yourself. Like, it's actually quite masculine to do that, because if you can't take care of yourself, like who else can you take care of? And if you're gonna sacrifice your own core values and everything that you were into, later on you're only going to end up hating yourself anyway. And self-care is a huge part of that, because if you rewind to ancient civilizations like the Romans, the Greeks, the ancient Egyptians, like they took their appearance and beauty with serious like they had the Roman baths. They used to wear makeup, like men used to wear makeup, you know, like back in the day, and they were so savvy to taking care of themselves. Whereas ever since kind of like the industrial age, it's like men have just it was like a bit taboo to do skincare because it was feminine. But you know, there's a reason why women look great when they're in their 50s and 60s, right. And there's a reason why men don't look so great. It's because they haven't taken care of themselves. So for me, it was about, you know, how I came across the brand was, again, I had all these reactions, and then my friend owned a wellness retreat in Thailand, and I was talking about these issues that I was having. And he was like, have you checked like what's in your skincare products or what's in your shower gel, shampoos and stuff? I was like, no, why? I like just assumed it was stuff that I was eating or whatever. He's like, just have a look, because, and this is one thing that stuck with me forever, is he said, if you don't understand the ingredient, neither does your body. So that just rang in my head for weeks. And it was during COVID, so I had a lot of time on my hands. And next thing you know, I started to like get all my products out, and I was researching what was in my shampoo, shower gel, toothpaste, deodorants, aftershaves, everything.
So you went through every ingredient?
I put it all in a spreadsheet, and I started to research all of them, and then all the medical studies that were linked to that ingredient, because it's all out there. Everything's on the internet, you know, right. Nothing's like, you go onto Nivea and all those toxic ingredients that they use is clear as day on their website, but rarely would you go, I'm gonna copy that and research that ingredient. But that's what I did. I spent 6 months, 7 months just dedicated to this, and every time there was a toxic ingredient, I would like traffic light system it. So green is good to go, amber is a bit like, I'm not too sure, red is like, wow, stay away from that. And I found loads of ingredients, and then when you find that one ingredient and you understand that it's a carcinogenic, or it affects testosterone, or can cause polycystic ovaries, like all these different things that it can do. It's not just like one thing it's doing a number of things. I just was so compelled by natural ingredients, and then started to make my own stuff in just like in a blender at home, and would just use it, and started telling people about it. And one of my friends, Emily, she said, why don't you start a skincare brand? Like, you've wanted to do a company for ages. If you're making your own products at home, why don't you just find somebody that's going to help you to make it on a mass level? And that was the development of Ansem Skin. And that's what, here we are today. Yes. So we've coming up to our first year anniversary for launching, which is November in this year. And, you know, as I said, outside, we've just been shortlisted for Skincare Brand of the Year. And
amazing.
We've got some really cool conversations going on, and, you know, hundreds of people around the UAE using our products, which is amazing.
Yeah, I think the whole idea about the podcast is to speak the unsaid, right? And this is so important, like men's skincare, to look good, not just about, not just the skincare routine being for females, but also for male, right? So that's so important. And thank you for talking on such an important topic.
Yep. Well, thank you very much for inviting me on.
We will look forward to many more episodes in the future.
Thank you so much. Maybe we can do one in a year's time when we talk about how we're doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.